Like I had a client one time say this to me. She was like, look, if I'm working with a coach or a consultant and as a client, I feel like I need to push you, the coach, that's a problem. You should be pushing me. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to figure out, get really clear in your heads, this is my job. Like, I'm the only person that can behave like this. I'm the only person. A lot of people that we work with, our clients, they don't have a challenge network. They don't have someone that challenges them. You are that person. That's your job. You're uniquely positioned to be that person. And they need you to be that person, even if they never tell you that's what they want.
Well, hello, and welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And I am so excited about continuing our next session on the Coaches That Don't Suck series with my friend Chris Marr. Chris,
Hey,
welcome to the show.
thanks for having me. I love this topic. It's great. It's
Oh
exciting.
my gosh, it's so good. So, Chris is from Dundee, Scotland, and he is a business coach with over 15 years of experience. Starting in sales and marketing, he became a certified They Ask You Answer coach, working alongside Marcus Sheridan for the past decade. Chris has helped 7- and 8-figure businesses worldwide improve their sales, marketing, and leadership, driving growth in traffic, leads, and profits. Some of my favorite things. And he now focuses on empowering leaders, coaches, and consultants to break free from people pleasing and the habits associated with that, and to implement authoritative practices for exceptional client outcomes and business success. My goodness, Chris, I have been looking
Wow.
forward to this for weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So good. So, Chris, you recently wrote a book called The Authoritative Coach, and I know this because you're very consistent on your social media with demonstrating that and showing it. Can you just give us a little soundbite about what's the book? And I'm really wanting to know, why did you write that? Like, of all of the things that you could help people with, given your extensive experience and expertise, why are we talking about people pleasing habits?
Well, so the book was written as an output from doing a lot of coaching. So the book's kind of like a curated version of some of the main lessons I learned as I was coaching. And those lessons were pulled out from the things that I felt that were interesting about my style in coaching that were slightly different. So it was a unique perspective. And the name of the book, the theme of the book, the sort of framework for the book, all kind of took place organically as I was trying to find out how to package this idea. And so it was like a combination of writing a lot for about a year and then figuring out like what all of that meant. So a lot of people write books. They already know the title of the book. They already know the through line of the book before they write the book.
Mm-hmm.
This was done the exact opposite way, which was I'd already done the writing, and then I had to figure out what the theme was and what it all meant and how it all came together.
Oh,
And this
interesting.
idea of like authoritative, of course, was quite deliberate because I had to find a place for myself, this brand, this idea in the market. And a lot of the sort of ideas that I had were the original ideas, or some of the ideas I was playing with were kind of already taken. Like, so there's
Mm.
the transformational coach or the indispensable coach or whatever. And I sort of landed on this word authoritative because, and although the word's quite difficult to say and reasonably difficult to spell and quite unique in some ways, I've had a few people say to me, maybe you should think of something different. Like, people don't use this word. And I thought, well, that's actually a great opportunity for me to pick a lane. And now what happens is people say to me, this is exactly what I want. I want to be more authoritative. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's funny to talk about the book because it kind of happened all quite organically as opposed to like a deliberate thought process of like, I'm going to write this book and it's going to be called this and it's going to look like this and it's going to have this stuff in it. And instead it was more like, what am I doing with all of this? And what does it all mean? And what's the through line through this writing that I've been doing for this last year? And it became more a project of curation about how to package up the idea.
I love
And
this.
that's where the book came from. Yeah, so it's just that's the truth of it. I'd love to tell you that it was very deliberate, but I'd be lying if I said that.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. You know, I came from a corporate background myself, so my first thoughts as I became an entrepreneur were, okay, what's the SOP? What are the processes, the swim lanes, the step by step? Like, what's the
Right.
most optimal, the leading practice way to do this? And the reality was that when I broke free of that and I just served and I let people, you know, I actually was a nicheless coach for a while, you know, just serve people with a heartbeat and an interest in making some growth in their life. That's what ultimately led me back to working with my fellow friend coaches, because I did have so much of this business background that I could really offer forward, but it was almost like I had to go on that wandering quest to find out what I liked, what I didn't like, what was interesting, what was not interesting. I love your characterization of it as being curation. So you very specifically like called out this people pleasing habit or this people pleasing behavior that you see. And look, you're already lit up. So talk to me a little bit about your perspectives there. Like how is it that this people pleasing tendency is holding coaches back?
Well, so what I've realized was it's good because we're talking about the book is like really the theme of the book was realizing that, well, by the time someone reads the book, they should realize that their need to be liked is holding them back from doing their best work. And not
Hmm.
only that, their need to be liked is actually holding their clients back from being successful at their highest potential as well. And so this is a good example. It's like when you're with a client as a coach or a consultant and you feel like you can't say what needs to be said because of fear of risking the relationship, or you're going to annoy them, or you're going to, you know, they're going to get frustrated with you, your fear of all of that, then your behavior becomes, I'm not going to say what needs to be said. I'm going to sweep it under the carpet. I'm going to let that little thing fester. And then the next thing you know, the client's saying, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore. I can't really put my finger on why I like you, Chris. I like you, but this isn't valuable for me anymore. And that's what we're trying to get, like, we're understanding that happens all the time. Your clients are leaving you too early before they get to the point of transformation. They aren't doing the work that they're supposed to do. They're making mistakes that they shouldn't be making, and they're not making as much progress as they should be making. And so this people-pleasing tendency, this need to be liked, is stopping you from being the high-performing coach or consultant that you need to be, that your clients actually want you to be. And so it's all this internal stuff, the fear, anxiety of like, what if I frustrate someone? What if I annoy someone? What if they don't like me? What if they don't like me? And it's like, you're not, like, you can be friendly, but you don't need to be their friend. And what I
Mm,
started to understand was that not only is your need to be liked holding you back, what you start to realize is that your need to be liked is actually risking you ever gaining any respect from your clients ever. And so I ask clients this question, which is like, if you had to choose, would you rather be liked or would you rather be respected? And the truth is, we're all human. We want both.
mhm.
The challenge for us as coaches, if we want to turn up authoritatively, say what needs to be said, challenge our clients and really challenge them to do their best work and get out of their own story, get out of their own way, we have to realize that actually what needs to come first is respect, with a high chance that liked comes later. And
Yeah.
so it's getting them in order. So your need to be liked first risks you never being respected ever. You come in with the need to be respected and you behave in that manner with high self-respect, then perhaps liked comes later, but you don't risk the respect. And so our clients, we want our clients to respect us for the right reasons, because they're like, well, Chris has helped us to see that we need to solve this problem and we need to do it in this way. and we respect Chris and we respect his leadership. So we're going to do the work, we're going to show up, we're going to prove to Chris what we're capable of, etc., etc. And so that's where this authoritative presence comes from, is your ability to get over yourself, realize that this is not about you, and this is actually about, like, I had a client one time say this to me. She was like, look, if I'm working with a coach or a consultant, and as a client, I feel like I need to push you, the coach, that's a problem. You should be pushing me. And so it's trying to figure out, get really clear in your heads, this is my job. Like, I'm the only person that can behave like this. I'm the only person. A lot of people that we work with, our clients, they don't have a challenge network. They don't have someone that challenges them. You are that person. That's your job. You're uniquely positioned to be that person. And they need you to be that person, even if they never tell you that's what they want. It is our job. And so we have to, almost like we're becoming, you have to accept like a sort of honest, intellectual, professional persona is what it means to be a great coach.
I really love this. You're reminding me of another book that I read when I was much younger, but even before I became an entrepreneur, and I was in corporate America, and I wanted to continue to progress as a consultant and a strategist. And the book was called Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. And I remember being like shook by that book, but it basically, I read that book and I was like, that last cup of coffee I'm ever going to pour for someone other than my husband, like, and it's just like certain behaviors that I realized I was unconscious of that were ultimately people-pleasing behaviors. And, we can talk about how society breeds us to do this and that and gender roles and yada, yada. But I think at the end of the day, it actually comes down to respect.
Yes. So what I've learned is that it all starts with self-respect. Like, if you imagine that there's this, like, I don't know, like a piece of string or elastic band, and like at one end it's your need to be liked, and one end it's your self-respect. It's like they're both one and the same thing. So as your self-respect increases, your need to be liked decreases, right? And it's like they're both attached to each other. So what you realize is, like, actually, if I increase my self-respect and I create my boundaries and I create my, like, what I'll tolerate from now on, or the things I'm going to stop doing, or the things I'm going to say no to, and I'm not going to do discounts anymore, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm going to turn up like this, that all breeds self-respect, a vote for yourself to do your best work. And as your self-respect increases, your need to be liked decreases. And so what we've got is this challenge for us to go, actually, this isn't about me being liked by other people, which is external to me, something I can't control, all assumptions, all assuming how I'm perceived, and instead going inwards and saying, actually, what are my own values? What do I want? What's my vision? How do I want to turn up in the world? And then getting your self-respect to a 10, your need to be liked to a 0. And what I mean by that is, like, you do not need anything from your client. I don't need gratification. I don't need recognition. I don't need you to like me. I don't need you to be my friend, because I've actually satisfied those needs other places in my life, and therefore I can turn up here and be the coach that you need me to be.
That's so huge. You're reminding me of some content that I did a year or two ago. And I was saying, like, if you're looking to get validation, don't start a coaching business, get a puppy, right? Like, they will love you unconditionally.
Get a Labrador. Yeah, exactly.
The better thing to do probably is to work on yourself and
work on your own stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So good.
Yeah.
So if somebody is like hearing this and they're thinking like, ooh, gosh, I've got all these signposts, all these red flags of people pleasing. Yeah. My experience is that when somebody realizes that, there's almost like this huge pullback, this snapback of like denial, they kind of go through these 5 stages of grief around it. So if somebody's recognizing that they have these people pleasing tendencies, that maybe their self-regard and their self-esteem is not as high as they maybe previously were aware of, what would you say are the top, say, 3 things that they need to do next?
Yeah, this is good. So recognizing, like, so just to reaffirm everything we've said so far, right? Your need to be liked will decrease as your self-respect increases, right? So you know that the action you need to take is something that increases your self-respect. Also knowing that your client respect, the respect you get from your client, can never be higher than the respect you have for yourself, right? So the key is go inwards and figure out what you're going to draw back. I'm no longer going to tolerate something. I'm going to take a vote for myself. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to do that type of work anymore. I'm going to say no to that technical work, or when I jump in to try and solve the problem for the client, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to draw a line. So somewhere in your work or in the things that you say yes to, you're going to start saying no to that now. So what is that for you, right? Figure out where you need to draw a boundary. And when you say no to it, it might feel difficult and it might feel awkward, but you are taking a vote for yourself in that moment. And so what I say, like if we could pick 3 things, let's do 3 things. But every single one of them, regardless of where this comes from, for me right now in this moment, it's all about you changing something about you, changing your state and taking action around it. It's not a book. You don't need to read a book. You don't need to journal about it. You need to do it. And that is that's you closing the gap. You have to take the action here. So it's a boundary you need to create, a work that you no longer want to do. You keep discounting, clients keep pushing back on your pricing and you discount them. Stop doing that. Just say no to it, like now. Stop taking on clients that are bad fits and problems for you. Just stop it. Turn them away. You're like, but what about the money? What about the revenue? Yeah, but every time you take a bad fit client, you can't take a good one. And it just sucks up your energy. Like, stop doing the stuff that you resent or tend to resent, and then you're unhappy in your own business that you've created. It's like, it's nuts. So, like, figure out the things that you've been tolerating that make you unhappy. And if you're honest with yourself, you said to yourself, I don't really want to do that anymore. Say no to that thing. Like, just start putting boundaries in place around all of these things. There's so many things you can do, but it's just trying to look at, even just honestly, just one change increases your self-respect and reduces your need to be liked. And all of a sudden you start turning up in the world as this much more confident, self-assured, authoritative person, right? I've actually got a video on my YouTube channel. It's like 10 ways to stop being a people pleaser. And there's loads of stuff in there as well.
Gosh, okay. Well, we'll make sure that we link that below in the show notes, because I think that would be really awesome to watch. I'm going to go check it out. I think that that's amazing that you did that. So, Chris, just rapid fire round. What are 3 things that help a coach not to suck?
Not to suck. Yeah. Man. So, look, this is, I think what we're talking about here is like, you've got to figure out a way to be comfortable turning up as you in the world, knowing that that's when you're going to attract the right people to you, right? Like, people say it's like, oh, Chris, you're intense, you can be a lot. I'm like, yeah, so like, suck it up, like, chase me, like, catch up with me, or like, find a different coach. It's like, this is it. This is the package deal. You know, you're getting me. So like, figure it out if it's the right fit for you or not, but I'm not changing for you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, work on your shit and figure out who you need to be in this world, right? That's the big picture stuff there. But like, to not suck, like, I guess this probably speaks to people pleasing as well, but like, a lot of coaches go into things, and I think this is what would either suck, or what I would say maybe more accurately is, they just can't be the best version of themselves, right? They just can't be a great coach. Mm-hmm. So like, you go into a coaching session and you think you need to have all the answers. You're going to suck. You go in there, you think you need to be right. You make it all about you. You need to be the star. You're doing all the thinking. Like, these are the things that are going to hold you back from turning up for the client and making them the hero of their own journey. Mm-hmm. You turn up with all the answers. You turn up with the need to be right. You turn up to to be the smartest person in the room. You sort of make it all about you. And it's nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. It's all about them. Even when they push back on you, that's about them, right? And so I would say this is what gets coaches. This is what has them just not being the best coach that they can be, is they're too in their head about it. You should be able to go in with your coaching skills and be a great coach regardless of the situation. If you had no time to prep, you should still be able to find the meaningful thing that we should be working on right now and not have to think too much about what the answers to these problems are, the solutions to these problems. Like, that's not it. And so I think we get up in our own head too much, we think too much, and we think that we need to put it all on us when really it's about delegating the problem to the client, using questions to help them self-discover the solution for themselves. Having those breakthroughs with your clients comes through questions, not through telling them. And so, I think a lot of these skills sort of challenge us in our norms, but they really challenge us actually just relax into it. Know that you're here to serve them, get straight on your intentions, and go in there with the intention to find something meaningful for them. And almost always it's going to work out exactly like that.
So good. That's so good. Chris, we could seriously do a 3-hour episode. I just very much enjoyed this conversation. If people wanted to follow you and find out more, how do they best do that?
The best place is Instagram. Like you're going to get my fresh content there. So it's just at the Authoritative Coach at Instagram. And then from there, you'll find my podcast, my book, all the good stuff's going to be there when you go to Instagram.
Love it. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to chat through these things. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening to our episode. So do us a favor, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss another really amazing session like this, and give this episode a review. Chris really showed up today, so I think he deserves 5 stars, don't you? So make sure you take the time to give him a review so that others can find this episode, and go ahead and proactively share this episode with 3 of your friends who want to show up more authoritatively as a coach, and they are ready to let go of their people pleasing and show up as the best version of themselves. I'm so excited to see you in another episode, and we'll see you soon.